On the eve of St Kilda's second AFLW campaign, we are joined by the background and obviously coaching over the last 10 or so years. Was the first female to join the coaching ranks at Port Melbourne for a while under Gary Ayres, then joined St Kilda in 2014. And there were a few more obvious choices, I think, within the AFLW program as to who would get a coaching gig. Then Peter taking on the reins at St Kilda. And Peter, thank you very much and good luck for another campaign.
Yeah, thank you. It's great to be here. It's great to be playing footy again. I mean, we spoke to the girls the other night about it's only 2 months ago we weren't sure that we're going to get a season up and going. So to be able to run out on Moorabbin, it's pretty surreal for them again.
So how was the feeling out of last season? I guess looking back, I mean, we know the season was cut short, which was unfortunate, but for us, it wouldn't have mattered too much in terms of finals. But the year itself, I mean, I kind of look at the Bulldogs game last year where we probably got jumped early and then we're really competitive. We were outstanding against Melbourne, stiff to lose to Fremantle, beat Richmond, and we're really competitive the whole way through. As coach, how did you feel about campaign number one?
Yeah, look, it was a positive start. Obviously, you'd like to get a few more wins when you're that close. When you nearly knock off Fremantle and even Carlton, who probably was a team that comprehensively beat us. I think we had the first 3 scoring shots in the last quarter and kicked points in those 3 scoring shots. So, in women's footy, those 3 points become 3 goals and it's a different game. So, yeah, I think we didn't set out to a win-loss ratio or anything like that, but obviously our process and who we want to stand for and the way we want to play was really important. And we felt that our game style, when we play it our way, is quite productive, but we needed to play it our way for a lot longer.
Peter, so was that one of the focuses through the off-season and this new pre-season was to focus on playing our way even more? And how do you go about that with such a young group?
Yeah, there wasn't much of a focus off season, to be honest. 111 days in lockdown. The focus was making sure the girls were physically and mentally connected and engaged. So, and I think that definitely will hurt us being a young side. Would have been great to have the VFL and just in terms of physical touch point as well. We've sustained a few soft tissue injuries in the last few weeks, which is not great. And my gut feeling is if we had that physical touch point with them throughout the VFL season or the winter, that we wouldn't have sustained those injuries. So, but definitely in the pre-season, it's been a massive focus. We heavily reviewed what we need to get better at, and then gone ahead and trained it. And I think pre-Christmas we were absolutely flying. Again, after Christmas, the break and then going back into small groups was probably a little bit difficult for the girls, but our game plan and our ability to do the things that we want to do without giving too much away has certainly improved from last year. We just hope that you work on one thing and that gets better, and hope that the stuff that we're good at continues to grow. But, the girls are definitely in a better space this time than they were last time.
I was going to run a little comparison this year to last year. Obviously, 2 very different pre-seasons. First pre-season last year, the hype of the team, what's coming up, that sort of thing. This year, we've been locked down. It's just a drag of an off-season and everything. Has anything sort of carried over from the last pre-season? Have you tried to keep a few things the same, or have you just gone, no, we've got to do everything different this year, try something completely new, or have you tried to just keep it more consistent? So how have you gone into it?
Yeah, no, I mean, you try and keep things as stable as you can in such an unstable environment, which last year was and footy is. But having said that, you've also got to be able to be, adaptable. And, I know that's the key word of COVID, but that's the key word of sport in general. So you've always got to be building resilience to change and grow and develop on the spot. So, there's certain things that were forced on us, which is the small groups and training in small groups. And, we felt that for a period of time that was quite advantageous. And I think to answer your question will be, what does pre-season look like next year? Having had a normal pre-season of footy, then having a pre-season COVID footy. So what are the gains out of COVID that we can input into our normal preseason? And I think that will be, the interesting question in terms of our, third year preseason, because there were certainly some things which were beneficial and there were some things that weren't. So how do we get the best of both worlds for next year?
I spoke to Nathan Burke last week in another role, just about how he was preparing for coaching against his own daughter in the other game. Obviously, you're on the foot of feeling about playing against the old man.
Yeah. Well, he was pretty confident Alice was going to get a game. No,
I think he said he'd tag her, actually.
Yeah, look, we really don't go down that path much with Alice. We let her develop her own self and be her own person. And she certainly is. It's great to, she's got such a supportive father and family. Obviously Nathan was at our season launch, so it was good to, to give a speech and to be able to, throw a few cheeky banters at him. But yeah, look, Alice is, quite independent and capable young lady. So she'll go amongst, it's probably Nathan that will probably feel it more than Alice. As parents, you tend to feel your kids a lot more and be a bit more emotionally invested than I think the kids are with their parents. So, but look, Nathan's been involved in footy and he'll be hoping obviously to get a win, and we'll be hoping to get a win. But I'm sure that, if we walk away with the win, he'd be happy for Alice.
Pete, you mentioned a few injuries over the last couple of weeks. Obviously, we saw Bianca Jakobsson go down with a collarbone a week or two ago. And then just before we started doing this interview, we heard about Nick Xenos and her ACL. How are those two specifically, and Tani White coming off her ACL last season? And how is the general shape and morale of the squad?
The shape and morale is fantastic. They really, I couldn't ask for 30 better human beings. Their support, care, empathy and feel for each other is next to none. Like anyone that spends a little bit of time with that group just walk away and are just amazed by the type of people that we have. So the morale's really good. I mean, last night was difficult. We're not going to deny that. It was tough to see Nicola go down. She's had a massive pre-season. She's been probably one of the biggest improvers in the pre-season, and we're really looking forward to seeing her take. She would have, really stepped up and light the stage this year. So, of course, the girls feel for that. But, there's this thing about a 24-hour rule where you get to, indulge in what it feels like and your empathy, but then you've also got to understand that you've got a job, and they know that there's a job at hand, and they know that the best thing to do for anyone that's injured is to go out and compete to the best of their ability, and that's where their mindset is now. And to answer your question about BJ, I'm astounded. She's already on the training track, running laps, kicking the footy. The ball's got to be kicked directly out of the strength and conditioning coach. Not too much with the arms, but just. I said to her, doesn't it hurt? And she goes, yeah, it hurts, but I've got a metal plate in it, so no more damage can be done. So this is just the type of people you're dealing with. So I think BJ will be back hopefully by about round 3. Molly was a bit stiff to miss this week. She's got a bit of a quad tear, but it's pretty minor. And I think Liv's the one who's struggling a little bit to get her body sorted. But we get behind her, we get to support them. I think the beautiful thing is this year is we've got good depth, and we've got giving opportunity. We play 5 debutants tomorrow. That's exciting for them. It's exciting for the club long term to be able to potentially accelerate their learning. Is really going to place us in a good situation down the track.
So we hear it every pre-season, this player's flying, that player's flying. Is there anyone who has returned and you've just gone, wow, where's this come from? They've just torn the track up and you're thinking, okay, that's someone who's going to really help us this year, lead us through, hopefully, as you say, pick up a few more wins this year and
Definitely.
make finals, or yeah.
Yeah, definitely not so much of wow where this has come from, because when you recruit them, you see the potential of where they can go. So the fact that they're starting to develop that potential is exciting, and Nicola was definitely one of those people. Tani's come back looking, training a house down. She's looking $1 million. Her attack and her ferociousness on the footy, and her speed and her competitiveness. It looks like she's never missed a beat. So, it's good to have Tani back, and Nadia obviously to get back, both of them to get back from their ACLs and ready to go first round is a real credit to them and the medical staff. I think there's been different people at different times step up. Kate Shearlaw's looked impressive. Also, Tiana Smith, the young girl from down here on Stingray, she's going to be, she's going to be a superstar. She's just really found a place. There's no second guessing whether the step up from NAB to AFLW is going to get in the way. She's certainly making an impact on our footy field. So we're really excited to see how she goes. And young Burke herself, physically, really strong in the air and competes really well on the ground. So look, it's just not so much. I think everyone's just grown. Everyone's grown that little bit more, as you'd expect from a young group. And I thought George's practice match against Carlton, in terms of a defensive side, was the best I've ever seen. She was ferocious. Her tackling, she came off and said, I don't think I've ever laid that many tackles. So, starting to get that really good balance in her game. So I think, everyone's just improved, which is what you hope for as a coach.
Final one from me. I guess looking at some comparison between years, I imagine 12 months ago at Moorabbin, for somebody like you and for a lot of people, it would have been, geez, look how far we've come. And here I am coaching St Kilda at Moorabbin, big crowd and spiritual heartland. Look at this. But I would imagine tomorrow night there'd be a bit of that too, but for different reasons. We'd look at the last 12 months and how tough it's been for everybody. Back at the footy with crowds, St Kilda's back at Moorabbin. And again, we're probably thinking, look how far we.
Yeah, I mentioned, I think in my starting speech at the season launch, and I really sincerely believe this, is that I virtually thanked the supporters, the fans, mentors, everybody who's basically been stuck in Melbourne that has done the right thing. I mean, it's really because of that we're actually able to play football again. It's because of all the hardships and enduring times that some people have spent in that 111 days that has enabled our girls to go out and play the game that they love to play. And they know that, and they feel that, and they're grateful for that. And, it's not now just bringing football back to Moorabbin. It's bringing football back to Victoria, and bringing football back to Victoria for people to watch. And, that's the thing that they know and are excited about. And, they just can't wait to get on the track. And I guess thank everybody by, the way they go about it and their performance that they deliver on.
Pete, obviously this is an AFLW episode of this podcast, so I don't want to talk about the men's team much at all, but there was an article in The Age this morning about Tani White and her doing her ACL last season, and the reaction from Jaron Geary and from the guys on that day and following. What's the relationship like between the women's program and the men's program? Is there any crossover in coaching or strategy or your skills levels and that sort of stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. Last year, the crossover was enormous. The integration between the two programs was genuine and natural. There was certainly a crossover. I mean, I've been involved in the men's coaching department for 4 years. So the relationships that I have with the men, the male coaches is, we often discuss things. Rats will come over to me and I'll go over to him, or I'll speak to Scrub, or, there's always a crossover of information. Last year, the girls, if they were in at the club in the day, they were allowed to sit on the men's meetings. They were in the club during the day if they were able to. There'd be times in the basketball courts where, the guys would be up one end kicking the ball and the girls would be down the other. Or there'd be times when I walk in and there's a guy and a female player kicking the ball with each other. So it was really, I think, one of the positive stories of our AFLW side. And unfortunately, the hard thing is COVID has taken all that away. in terms of keeping programs separate, in terms of, just, I guess, sanitizing really the whole situation. So that is something that we do grief, but we understand, and we really, as a club, look forward to the time where, we can get back together to what, and keep building, I guess, on the positive relations that we had between both groups from last year. But on a real good note is that 𝙎𝙎 𝙎𝙚 has joined our coaching staff, and he'll be assisting with the mids. So, and he's just a ripper of a guy. I mean, he had his first session last night. And straight away, he's on the phone the next day. How's Nicola? How's Nicola? So already heavily invested, and so that will be really beneficial for both programs as well.
So are we blaming Luke Dunstan for this knee injury, new training methods?
No, not at all. No.
As we're saying, we've had a bit of downtime. Have you sat down a few times and sort of thought about what is it I'm going to say in this last speech before the players round the field the first time for the season ahead? Or is there any little insight you can give us to what maybe something, or are you just going to completely wing the whole thing and just go, yep, get out there?
Yeah, I won't be talking much about footy, because I think we've talked about footy for the last 3 months. So I try and keep game day pretty simple in terms of, we've done all the education and just let them play. I think my message tomorrow will be strongly about them, as it'll be you as a person and you as a footballer, and I guess how inspired I am of them. I mean, it's just the challenges that a lot of these players face, and everyone has different challenges, whether it's work, physical, whether it's confidence, whether it's relationships, but they deal with it all day, every day, and then they rock up 4 or 5 times a week and just get to work in an elite environment. It's inspirational and it's impressive, and I'm going to talk to them about that. I'm going to talk to them about what that means and what it means to be able to take that onto the field and galvanise what that is on the field, so they can perform to the best of their ability.
Peter, good luck. We're certainly with you all the way. It gets underway against the Western Bulldogs tomorrow night at Moorabbin. Go well, and it's fantastic to have it back, and we appreciate your time with us this week.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.